With a freshly restocked supply of heat shrink, I can now proceed. Now the plan here is to have the bridge pickup wrap around and go like this, which will then go to the sides of each pot, which will ground all the pots together and mechanically connect everything to make a very stable harness that's easy to slide in and out. But before I do that, I want to have some targeted areas of heat shrink to make sure that, if this is ground and it touches here because it's right next to it, that would ground out a signal. We don't want to have that. So I'm going to put one length that'll go in this area. And I think that's probably fine in stock form. That'll be for the bridge wire and the neck wire. Neck pickup for both, neck pickup and bridge pickup. We'll go through there. And I'm not going to heat shrink it until I have the neck pickup in place. So that's going to go over there. And then we've got a section here that's going to have the bridge pickup going to the pot, to the volume, and then the signal going from that volume to the tone and then back to the switch. It's going to have the wire going from the neck pickup volume to the switch and the wire going from the switch to the output jack. So that's quite a few wires. So I've got this big section, but I don't want it to be this long. I want it to be about, this long. So let me cut that now and slide that on. And then we're going to have 2 wires here and 2 wires here. So I'm going to use the smaller sections. It's good to plan things out before you make any changes. So now I'm ready to install this wire. So I'll put the lead through here, making sure that the shielding is not going to touch where I don't want it to. I don't want it to ground anything out. Bim that up for a nice mechanical connection before I solder there. I don't want to have a single bad solder joint down there that has to make me open up the guitar again. So now I want to kind of bend this like this and solder it to the side for reasons that will become clear. So I will start by tinning a section of the braid. This is much easier to do on fresh braid like this. If you have old braid in an old guitar, it's been sitting for a while, sometimes it becomes almost impossible to do. We'll let that cool a bit so I can touch it without feeling any heat, because I'm about to slide this piece of heat shrink down there. I don't want it to shrink yet. All right, that's much better. Slide this bit of heat shrink down as far as I can. Line these pots up at each other. I'm going to do the same thing right here. And I'm going to repeat that process, linking these all around until this is all connected like so. It'll make a loop, and that'll be a common ground and common structural support, while still having the wire in here, the shrink wrap in here to take the next piece of wire and make everything neat. All right, made some real good progress here. So let me show you what you're looking at here, underneath the shrink wrap. So like I showed before, the pickup lead from the bridge pickup, which has the braided shield ground on the outside, is soldered to the side of this chassis shell, this pot shell, to the side of this pot shell, and this pot shell. That forms the ground reference for all 4 pots, and then goes to the input. The wiper is going with a telegraphed shield, which means that the shield is not connected to the pot here, but the ground is connected here. And then there's another wire going from the same connection in the tone circuit, which also is referenced to ground, and that's going to the center, going to the bridge connection here at the switch with its ground wire connected to the ground point on the switch. And then we have the wire here, which is the common of the switch, which goes to the output jack, which has its ground connected to that same ground, and that goes all the way here to the output jack. You can see that's nice and neat. Separately, we will have soon the neck pickup cable, which will go through that same bit of shrink wrap there, which will go to here to the input of this pot. The wiper of this pot goes 2 places. With another telegraph connection, it is going from here to the neck pickup connection on the switch, and that is telegraphed. Again, its shield is connected here to the common output. It is not connected here. And then this wire, which is connected, and its ground is connected to this pot shell here, is going to the tone circuit, and it is not, its ground is not connected to the shell. So it's a telescoped one here. And the only thing I forgot to do is put a bit of heat shrink right here to make sure that that does not contact the shell of the case. So let me rectify that and then just a little bit more heat shrink here. I just forgot in the heat of battle. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And then it's going to be time for the fun stuff of getting all this put back into the hollow body guitar. Maybe even getting it right on the first try. That'd be nice for a change. Now, the way I get everything back in place may be a little unorthodox. First note that this hole, and this hole, I can kind of reach with my fingers, so I don't have to worry so much. It's these three that I want to pull the parts back through, and because I did the fairly, not rigid, but fairly stiff loom, once I pull these back in place, these pots are going to line up almost perfectly by themselves. So I've got to get these three lined up, and I can't get my finger in there. I could kind of almost do that one, but not the other two. I've tried surgical tubing, which works, but sometimes it pulls off. I've used bus wire, which works, but there's always a risk of chipping the finish. What I usually do is I use, this is not an endorsement of this particular brand, though it does have a nice minty taste, is I use dental floss. And what I do is I get a length much longer than I'm going to need and cut it off. And I take something that is kind of heavy and will fit through these holes, such as this nut. And I'll put the floss through the nut and tie a double knot in it. I'm going to drop it through the hole and let it drop down. I can get it in the body just from the weight of the nut falling. And then I'll tape it. I'll show you what happens next. I want to do this in sequence, so I don't want these to overlap each other. So I'm going to do this one, then this one, then this one, so I can keep them all separate from each other inside. So just drop that down in, and I'll tilt the guitar up. It fell down, and it's here. And since I decided just to do the single knot rather than the double knot, that pulls out. So that, I know, will be the output jack location. So I'm going to give myself a lot of slack and tape it to the body. And I'll go ahead and write on the tape, not on the body, output. Okay, so now I've got the output jack, the neck, and the bridge location, and also have the ground wire. And these strands are not twisted around each other or overlapping inside the body. There's a straight line from here to here, straight line from here to here, straight line from here to here, well, actually from here to here. And here is the neck pickup lead. As you can see, there's a little bit of excess there. It's going to go about there when it's in the body. So I'm probably going to shorten that a little bit. I can tell that the pickup hole right there. So I'll probably do it about like that, so I don't have a whole bunch of excess in there flopping around. So I think I'll probably go ahead and trim that now. Let's see, just confirm everything I'm saying. Yeah, that's all we need right there. So the neck pickup lead is going through the heat shrink tubing. And I'm just going to attach to the case there of the pot. Then solder where it connects here. Now, aside from the bridge ground, which will be made to this pot a little bit later, all the soldering is done at this point. The issue, before I put it all back in, and notice that because it's all soldered in this harness like this, everything wants to pretty much stay on this plane, which is really good because a lot of times if you don't have that, they'll tilt over and be at all kinds of different angles. These are all staying more or less where we want them. But this jack and these two pots have lost their toothed washers. These two have retained them. And what I do to keep them so that they're easy to place is I will put them back where they were, and I'll apply just a little bit of clear nail polish, which is enough to hold them in place for installation, but not so much that it won't compress when the wood sets, because by the time I put it in, that nail polish will be almost cured, but not quite. It'll be kind of plasticky. Thank you, Sally Hansen. Just a little bit on the bushing, down at the bottom where the nut's not going to reach because of the wood, and a little bit on the tooth washer so that they're overlapping. So I'm going to go make another pot of coffee while this sets up. That's a good plan. All right, the washers have set back up, and before I put everything in the guitar, I want to do one final check that everything is working. So got it in the middle position. So that is the noise level with both pickups on. If I touch the ground, it goes down. This is a noisy environment right here. If I go to the neck by itself, it's going to get noisier. Pure 60 cycle, that's fine for now. Go to the bridge. Go to the middle. Everything's working. All right, here comes the tricky bit. So without overlapping them, let's start with the one that goes to the tone pot with a bridge pickup. I'm going to tie this around here. Now the output. This one's a bit trickier. I go down like this into the output jack. That's just enough force for me to pull it up through this hole, but not enough, it won't break off when I want it to. All right, so now I need to position all this over here a little bit because I've got to do that ground wire and not have the ground wire interfere with the dental floss. We're going to put that on the back of this tone pot. There we go. All right, now comes the trickiest bit. But you want to kind of control the slack as you go. So I'm going to feed the jack through first, and then the neck tone, and then the bridge tone. And kind of gently tug on all of them because I don't want anything to get twisted inside. I can slide these in. All right, just start to move things, and just a little bit at a time. That's good, and that's good. I know this is pretty close to where it needs to be. So now what I want to do is have the nuts ready, and then I'll put the nut on. All right, that won't fall down the body now, at least. All right, now this one comes right up. That's a big point of relief when that's on there. I'm going to flip these around because I got to kind of steer them from the other side. All right, let me do some preliminary tightening. Then before we start to button this up, I'm going to check that everything's working again. Yay! So this, I'll just pull, comes right out. And these I could break, or I could untie. I think probably a bit easiest just to give it a little bit of a snip. All right, so I'm not going crazy on this because it is just a wood top. But I want to make sure that the tooth washers beneath are digging into that wood a little bit. So things are less likely to come loose. And practice. And on this one, let me give that a tightening. Make sure it doesn't turn inside. And it's going up and down. It's not going side to side or at some undesired angle. So that's all nice and tight in there. Let's just confirm that nothing I just did mess that up. Great. Well, I'm going to give everything a clean and restring it and all that fun stuff. And we'll get a chance to hear without that hum, or with, a more usual amount of P90 hum. And then we'll do a third video where you actually get to hear these, and we'll talk about the Fralins more in depth. But this is just the installation bit. Well, it turns out the new pickup covers are slightly wider, and so the pick guard will not really fit on this neck pickup. So I will take this and carefully file and sand it later and just slightly enlarge that while keeping it square. I'll do that later. I'm too impatient. I want to hear what it sounds like. All right, new strings. These are Desoldering XL, NYXLs 10 through 46. Normal channel, channel volume about 9 o'clock, tight switch off, color about 2 o'clock, level, like the master, just below noon. So. That's very promising. No 60 cycle hum when you're in the middle position, and the rest you just rotate till it goes to minimum. But all the high end and liveliness has come back. This is now a great sounding guitar, and I haven't even adjusted the pickup heights. Not that you can do it too much, but I haven't even touched the pulpiest heights. These are the Fralin P90s. This is the regular wind bridge, and a little bit underwound on the neck to get them to balance out. I love it when a plan comes together. Thanks for watching.